Hello and welcome to a 10-minute takes gaming review. This is going to be a little bit different from our movie reviews. Our gaming reviews will be, the score that we'll come up with for our gaming review is it's an average of 4 separate ratings that we give each game that we're going to do. So the games are going to be reviewed or scored upon the scores of how fun it is, how engaging the game is, the level design, and how frustrating the game is. So with that said, let's start this review. And my final score came out to be a 9.5 out of 10.
My final score was 9.5 out of 10.
Let's get into the review. The big question, is this game fun? Is Astrobot a fun game to play? And for me, out of 10, this game is a 10 out of 10 in the fun factor. Sam, what is it for you?
It is a 10 out of 10 for the fun factor. The reason I said that was because it was very different from any of the VR games. It was not a shooting game that we've been used to during VR. All of the games, or a majority, I should say, a majority of the VR games that have been coming out have been first-person shooter, which I love, but it was nice to see something a little bit different.
The game, for me, one of my favorite aspects about this game is when the little robot you control. The controls for this game are super tight. One of the issues I had with Moss which is another platformer like Astrobot, but you control Quill as a little mouse that goes through the fantasy book. The controls in Moss felt a little loose, so it took a while for, when you press the button to do something, it feels like there's a little bit of
a delay.
Yeah. With Astrobot, it's super responsive. You hit the attack button, you're attacking. You jump.
Yeah.
It is on par with a lot of people comparing it to Mario, and I feel like that's an accurate comparison. It never gets boring. That's one of the things that I think I take away from it, is that with as fun as it is, and I think one of the things that adds to the fun factor is that the levels are pretty short. It's almost like binge watching your favorite TV show. You can binge watch your favorite TV show when the episodes are 20 minutes. So you can watch a whole season in a night.
Yeah.
And so that's what Astrobot's levels are like, and it's fun because each level feels different from the previous. So now we're going to go on to the second portion of our 4-part of this review. The second portion is how engaging is this game to play. Engaging can mean a number of different things. If you're playing something like Uncharted, the thing that's engaging about it is the story, it's the interaction with Drake and his brother. With VR being engaging, how much of the world does it make you feel like you're a part of? Can you interact with things? And that's what VR, that's the magic of VR. For me, the engagingness of, I guess maybe if that's a word, I don't know if that's a word, but how engaging, the engagingness.
Engaging-ness. Great, we made it a word if it's not a word.
So how engaging this is as a VR title, for me, is a 10 out of 10. It does things that no other VR game has done up until now. Sam, what is your score for the engaging on?
The engaging portion, I said 10 out of 10. And the biggest reason I said it was a 10 out of 10 because you were so involved in the game that you needed to stand up. You needed to turn your whole body so you can look behind you. You had to look 360 of this VR game, which is what VR games are supposed to be. And I don't think that I have felt that in a VR game quite to this extreme of the 360 visualization. Yes, you can see in VR games everywhere because it's VR, but this one is so engaging where you needed to do that to continue forward with the game, which I thought was brilliant. It was done brilliantly, and the robot you could engage with, and that made it really fun.
So one of the things that I liked about this game that other VR games haven't done, or at least the ones that I haven't experienced, and if you're watching this and for the things I'm going to get into, one of the things what I liked about Astrobot so much, if you feel like other games have done this, let us know. We'll play them. But one of the things that Astrobot does is that you use your head to actually progress through the level. Yeah. So there's a point where you'll come across a block and you have to headbutt it, and the game goes back and you see it, and the wall breaks, it shatters, and you go forward.
You have to dodge things.
Yep, you have to dodge. The creatures in the game try spitting goo at you, and you have to dodge it as it's coming. Another thing was there's this little there's a flower, you go and you blow on the flower and you see the flower petals blow away, and then it reveals another part of the level, which was super fun. Another aspect of the engagingness, again, don't know if that's a word, but one of the other aspects is that the little robot interacts with you, and I absolutely loved it. When you're in the water worlds,
that's my favorite world.
Did you get him to clamp onto your face?
Yes.
So he's swimming and he'll grab your face and then
I was like, how do I get you off? And I'm like trying to like move my head. He's not getting off.
And then
you have to
like
jump
this.
off.
Well, you can go like this. If you shake your head, he'll fling off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's super fun.
I hit square.
The next portion of our review is going to be the level design of Astrobot. And for me, the level design was a 9 out of 10. Sam, what was it for you?
10 out of 10.
So for me, the reason I said level design was a 9 out of 10 because there was a few parts of the levels that got a little hard to navigate because the game itself gets very vertical, and you yourself, it takes a while for you yourself to travel with that verticality.
Okay.
And there's a few parts where it's hard to see where your little Astrobot buddy is gone. It was a little hard to navigate for me. But again, that's just a minor nitpick that brought it down from being a absolute perfect level design for myself. What did you think?
So I approached the level design in a little bit of a different angle. I said the level design, or how I rated the level design, was how it visually looked. I'm not sure that's how you're supposed to rate them, and that's why I gave it a 10 out of 10. And the reason I gave it a 10 out of 10 is because I felt like it was easy to progress in the game, even when you went up. Yeah, sometimes the robot got a little bit lost, but half the time it was in my belly. So like if I looked down at my robot and we had that big robot belly, he was like usually hanging out underneath of me, and I was like, oh, there you are.
Yeah.
But I think I just looked at the level design a little bit of a different approach and an angle. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to rate video games, but that's how I
level design
took it as.
You could, I guess, multitude of different ways. You could say level design is how clever is a level made, or is there like little nooks and crannies you can find?
Okay.
Is there secrets hidden within? So like we're big fans of the From Software games, especially like Bloodborne. Like the level design in Bloodborne is top notch. It's probably some of the greatest in the gaming industry.
For me, it's so frustrating because I don't always find them, but this is so straightforward that you really can find everything. And when you get to the end of the level and you don't find all of the robots, you usually can play it again and navigate it to where you're like, oh, he was just right there. You just happen to miss it because you were focused on something else.
Which is a good segue, because now we're coming into the final portion of our review, which is the game at all frustrating? What is the frustration score? I have a score for the frustration. The less frustrating the game is to play, the higher the score is going to be. So for me, the frustrating score for Astrobot is a 9 out of 10. What did you put it?
I said an 8 out of 10. This is where I marked it down a little bit.
Yeah.
For a certain reason. I marked it down as an 8 out of 10 because I got frustrated in the boss fights. And also kind of like what I was saying with the level designs, when I got to the end and I couldn't find the last robot or the last two robots, I felt frustrated because I couldn't quite find all the chameleons and all of the robots. So at the end of the levels, when I missed a few, that's when I felt the most frustrated. But a minor frustration. And
yeah.
I think the biggest part of why I marked it down twice is because I actually kind of thought that the boss fights were kind of challenging.
They are kind of challenging. The first one I thought was really easy. The second boss fight was a little bit more difficult, and they get more difficult as you progress through the game.
The third one,
how it should be.
One, yeah.
But as the boss fights get more challenging, usually in games that you get more abilities to make the boss, to kind of sort of curb the difficulty level of the game. But with this, there really isn't much of a curve, because as the bosses get harder, your skill just as playing the game needs to get better. Which I guess you could say how it should be. But again, the boss fights become more of a, I guess, marathon-ish towards the end. For me, my frustrations come from the fact that when you get to the end of a level, if you missed a robot, you can't turn around and go back and go backwards in the level. You play a character in the game that's a robot, and Astrobot, well, he can go like try to navigate back, but you yourself won't go back in the level to try and find the things that you've missed. So you have to replay the levels if you want to find everything, which the levels are quick enough to where it's not that big of a deal, but it would have gone a long way had it allowed me to, once I got to the end of the level, to turn around and go back. And I can't do that.
I understand what you're saying. As I kind of progressed through the level, I did figure out a way that you could go back. You just don't go anywhere. which I guess can be challenging.
Yeah,
so.
And the other frustrating aspect was part of the why I knocked the level design a little bit is the frustration of there's some of the levels, because they are vertical, they are vertically built, that you can lose your little bot. So in one of the levels, the C level, there's quite a few times where I lost track of where Astro was at. And he was actually like right underneath me, but as the character that you are, you can't really see unless you move Astro out.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few times where I actually spent time like looking around, looking for my guy. And it was cute at first, but after like the 5th or 6th time of me looking for my little robot guy, I was like, all right, this is a little much. So those are my minor nitpicks, which brought the score down just a tad. So those are our 4 scores. Is there anything else you wanted to add to this review?
I think my final thought is that the thing that I felt was so great about this game is I know I'm going to play this again.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to play this again.
The other thing I want to touch on is that there are challenge missions. There are 25 challenge missions. So
Those are
essentially,
hard.
Each level has a chameleon that you can find. Mm-hmm. And that chameleon, when you find it, all you need to do is look at it. It unlocks a challenge level. And outside of the ones that are just repeated boss fights, which I felt were a little weak, the ones that are time or score based are a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, I think our first playthrough, we did the boss fight, and then we went and looked to see what the challenges were, and it was a boss fight, and we were really disappointed. And then as we played on our own, we realized that the chameleon was essentially another level, or like you were saying, a challenge that was either time-based or it was score-based. But I thought that was, once the additional ones went in there, I thought that was great.
Yeah, my favorite challenge mission that I played was the one side-scroller. So it's like how I mentioned when we were playing in the first... I think it was the final take we did. We did 3 takes of a first impression of this game, which is on our channel as well. When we did the first challenge, I think one of my first reactions was like, oh man, it'd be so cool if they had a 2D platformer challenge mission that you could do it. And they actually do have those that I found a little later, which was my absolute favorite. You need to jump through platforms and navigate... try to beating the time to navigate through like these traps and stuff, and then you go through. It's almost like one of those games where you push, like the games you see at like a doctor's office where you push the button, you'd have like the little loop that'd go in, travel through, and you try to get on a little tag.
Oh yeah.
So there's a level that's like that where you have to get like Astro through this level design.
Those were at all the doctor's offices.
Without hitting the sides, that one was my favorite so far.
My favorite challenge was the one with the waves, because I really liked every level that had to do with water. Was really, really fun.
Yeah.
And the challenge was when you had to go through the lasers and navigate the waves and time it. I thought it was really fun.
All right, so my final thought is that this game is part Mario, it's part Mega Man, it is all Astrobot. I'm looking forward to more of these games.
It is its own game.
I'm 100% certain that Sony's going to be doing more of these. I feel like this is a system seller. I'm seeing it on Reddit. People are like, I'm buying PSVR, and look what game I got. I got Astrobot.
Yeah.
Which is highly recommended. Not sure if I actually like this more than Moss. But I will say that I think that this is a better game than Moss, but I think Moss just might be more enjoyable from the dark fantasy aspect. Because they are kind of similar with the platformers and the way you interact with the levels to reveal stuff for the characters to go through.
I think that Moss was a great first addition to the game. It was when VR started getting more popular, Moss was implemented, and now this is really showing us what a VR game, Astrobot really can show us what a VR game can come to. And the fact that you're saying that on Reddit people are buying VR specifically for Astrobot is showing me that VR is, in the next year or so, in the next couple of years, is going to start getting really big.
Yeah, and I just want to end this by saying that virtual reality isn't the future. It's here, we're in it, and it is fantastic, and I love everything about it.
I think like some people think that VR, because it's still kind of fresh and new, it doesn't always visually look as appealing as if you are playing a PS4 game nowadays. But because of where it is now driving to, I think it's definitely worth looking into it and starting it now. And then once the other things start coming in, it'll be just like the first PlayStation to the PlayStation 4. Eventually, we're going to get to a VR that is equivalent to what we play on our regular systems.
Agreed. Is that it for you?
That's it for me.
All right. So that is it for this episode of 10 Minute Takes. This was our review of Astrobot. This is our first gaming review. We will be doing more. We are also doing VR playthroughs of other games, mainly scary ones. We have 3 takes that we did of
Happy October!
of Astrobot. So if you want to look at our channel, you can see the first world that we played through. It's us playing it. I've edited it so there's no warping in it. And we have Rush of Blood, a Rush of Blood series coming out this week. Trying to get through the whole game. We've got through the first 6 levels. We have a couple more to do, and that will be out starting Tuesday.
It's a great October Halloween theme. It's a good one to play.
So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be Rush of Blood, and then have another series next week. So
all right.
That's it for this take. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more, and as always, we'll see you next time.